Hello there. After the last video I posted, which was the beginner's jelly print tutorial, I've had a number of people asking me if I could come back on and explain how I use the papers that I've printed. So today I'm going to talk about and show some examples of ways that I have used my jelly prints in finished paintings, in baby board books, and talk about some of the supplies I use to fix them. Okay, so I'll start with this one here, which is a baby board book, and the reason I like these is because they're a nice hard surface to collage onto. There's only a small number of pages in a book, so you feel some sense of achievement when you finish one of these. They work really well for me when I'm in between projects and I'm trying to sort of get myself motivated, or I just need to do something that's not too taxing for me. And often, because these are just kind of exploratory, they do spark ideas for finished paintings. So this one here, I've used prints, but then I added a little birdie, and that then I ended up doing a whole series of bird paintings based on this page here. So yeah, they're really good for kicking off ideas. So another way to use your prints is to glue them onto like an inexpensive canvas here. So I've used this one as a demo in my last workshop, so it's not quite finished yet. So I was just sort of showing different things you could do, you know, once it's glued down. But if you have papers like this, for instance, say you wanted to glue this one here, for example. So you wanted to glue that onto a finished subject. So you're just basically using it like a wrapping paper. So you would just work out where your area is and then just wrap it around and trim it. So you're going to see roughly what I mean when I turn that over, and that can be the base, and you can work onto that a bit more. So that's one way of using it. Another way I use is I make jewellery pieces. So I'll glue the papers to card, and then I'll add an element of encaustic wax to the top to finish them, to give them a sort of shiny finish. That's another way. I will make encaustic paintings with them. So this is one of the finished encaustic paintings, and if you watched my tutorial on image transfer, and that was using trees as my subject, this was one of the trees that I printed in that video, and I've used it in my encaustic wax painting here. So they work really well as part of a painting. This one here is on this paper that was glued onto a wooden cradle board, and I'll show you what the cradle board looks like before you glue it down. So this is a wooden cradle board. The reason it's called a cradle board is it's got a lip here, so you can, it's raised and you can hang that directly onto the wall. You don't need to buy a frame. You could just paint the sides, or you know, leave them unfinished if you wanted to have that as a finished painting. So that saves on the cost of framing, because that sort of puts people off, a lot of people off for doing paintings, is because the framing can be quite pricey. Here's another one I've got. So if you wanted to, you could put your jelly print under glass. This is one I've got under glass, and it's a non-reflective glass, so you'll still be able to see all the elements there. Little fly. Okay. So if you were going to use the wooden cradle board, what I do is I protect the paper from the wood, the sap from the wood, or the discoloration from the wood. I would coat that with a gloss medium first. Get a couple of layers of that onto your wood before you even apply the paper, just to make sure that the wood is completely sealed. Because some woods do have will discolour your papers over a number of years. So if you're selling it as a finished product, that's a way to protect your papers from discoloration from the wood. Now the products that I use to glue the papers on, so if it's a thinner paper, I will use something called matte medium, and that works really well. So I would put the matte medium onto the surface and also onto the paper, and then I would place the paper on top, and then I would smooth it out with something like a catalyst wedge. Now sometimes I'll have elements on here which are going to move about, so if I had something that was likely to move about, you know, that I'd put on before I'm putting the glue on, I'd also always fix those elements first before I added any wet glue to it, because these will just, they are water soluble and they'll move about as soon as you put a wet product on top. But for something like that, that's not got anything that's going to move really, if you're just putting a layer of glue and a layer of glue on here, and then pushing it out to the sides, making sure there's no air bubbles. Okay, so this one here, it looks as if it's just the paper, and actually what's happened with this one is I've added a layer of what is called gloss medium to this first, and now what that does is it seals in all the collage elements. And I'll show you what it looks like before I've added the matte UV varnish. So this one here has just had the gloss medium on it. Now the gloss medium is just like a sort of thicker glue, which it lies really flat and doesn't leave paintbrush marks, but it will seal in all your collage elements. They're not, you know, they're not going to peel off after time. If you put a couple of coats of this on, they're well and truly stuck down. So that just makes your painting more archival, more professional. And then if you don't like this shiny finish, there's products like this one called matte varnish. Now this one has a UV element in it, and that's going to stop your painting from fading. If it's in a position where it's going to have light hitting it, the UV, this will protect it from fading. So I always do the gloss medium, and that sort of holds all the collage elements in, and then I do a layer of the matte varnish, so it still looks like paper, but you know it's protected, and if it was to be wiped with a cloth, that's perfectly safe, you know, if it gets dusty. Okay, so this is another one that was done on a canvas. I've framed this one slightly differently. It's like a St. Ives frame. So that was a canvas, and then I've again added the gloss and the UV varnish to protect that one. You can make prints off your finished jelly prints or paintings and sell them as prints. So that once you've sold the original, you can then, if you photograph it before you sell it, that's another way to make more money from your original prints. Yeah, so that's some of the ways that I use to protect my paintings. Or just one more thing. If you have got heavier papers and you wanted to glue the papers down, say they were like cartridge, heavy cartridge, something that was 300 GSM, like a watercolor paper, I would use something like this, which is called Yes Paste. It's kind of like a thick, solid glue. And this is an American brand, and it is quite pricey to buy in the UK, so I've sourced one called Nori Paste. It's not quite as thick, but I think it's pretty similar product. It's kind of like a jelly sort of glue. So that will glue heavier papers down, and you glue it and then put weights on top and leave it for 24 hours. You're going to get a good mixture, you know, it's not going to peel off at any stage. These are really good for gluing heavier papers or elements within your collage. Okay, so I hope that's helped with giving you some ideas for using your jelly papers. Now, at the moment I have got 2 courses on offer, my botanical jelly printing course and the Encaustic treasures, and I walk through step by step how you glue your papers and everything, if you wanted to watch that step by step. I was thinking I might film myself doing a couple of these pages just so you get an idea how I glue them down and how I get them nice and smooth like this, how I add the details. So if you're interested in watching that, just give us a wee comment, and I'll try and get that filmed for you shortly. Okay, so I really appreciate you watching, and I'll be back on soon, so speak to you soon. Bye for now.